Hi, my name is Greg. I'm an atheist. My post is GKLR on YouTube. And I figure I need an introduction because people should know who I am before I start talking, at least. Okay, so the question came from Pedo Man, or PDOE Man. Great question in respect to beliefs. Let me pull it up here. He said, excellent video, thanks. Only one criticism from me: you refer to atheism as believing there is no God. Are you comfortable using the term belief in that context? And yes, I think that here we get into the definition of atheism. What is atheism? And most atheists are going to disagree with me on this one. And here's a video for those theists that want to see disagreement between atheists. Here's going to be one. An atheist is somebody who believes there is no God, rather than an atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in a God or lacks belief in a God. The problem formally is the distinction between primary and secondary predications. So essentially it comes down to and boils down to the logical operator not. And if I say Greg does not have horns, this is true, but it doesn't say anything true about Greg. It says what's true about what Greg is not. So in this sense, you can say a lot of things that I'm not. Greg is not a bridge, but that doesn't say anything about me. So you can say that I'm not a believer in God. Then you're not saying anything true about me. You're saying something true about what I'm not. And it boils down to that. So when you put the negation on the person, on the individual, then that's what happens. Is you're saying that Greg doesn't have horns. And it doesn't say anything true about Greg. Or Greg doesn't believe in God. It's the same thing. Whereas if you say that Greg believes there's no God, then that's stating something actually about me. And this is why formally it must be the case that we believe there's no God as an atheist, rather than we just simply lack beliefs in a God. A 6-month-old child can't draw the conclusion that there's no God, and in my definition become an atheist, whereas atheists try to claim that he's an atheist right from the beginning. And I know Christians that try to claim the same thing. They try to claim hold over a 6-month-old child who's never been exposed to either argument and claim them as their own. And this is something I utterly reject. So I don't have a default impression of life as being atheist, and then we learn to become believers kind of thing. As that we either learn to become believers or non-believers, but first we have to have the proposition proposed to us so that we can draw a conclusion. So atheism is a philosophical conclusion, and it's not one that's necessarily one that advocates good logic either. I would recommend that education and good logic results in atheism, but that atheism doesn't necessarily in itself indicate that the individual is logical or rational. So further to that is we would talk about why atheists prefer to use the argument that they lack belief in God, or that they don't believe in God, instead of saying that they believe there's no God. They don't want to really engage the theists with a style of argument of, well, then you believe and I believe, and we just sort of have to leave it at that. And I believe that there's more integrity shown on the part of an atheist when he does, but that unfortunately most atheists don't really want to engage that. They don't want to believe, or they don't really want to go in that direction. So I consider that unfortunate. There's really no really real good reason for it. There's nothing to be evasive about, and I think it's a complete dodgeball on the part of the atheist. I'll summarize this argument in 2 questions. One, do you believe in God? And if you answer no, then this doesn't make you an atheist. This makes you a non-believer, or somebody who maybe has never been exposed to the argument of God before. Even if you can't answer no, you simply don't understand the question. There's so many possibilities as to how this could be resolved as a non-believer in respect to that they're not an atheist, like my 6-month-old son. However, if it's true that I'm an atheist, and I answer no, then that may be true, but it's true about what I'm not, rather than what I am. So it doesn't say anything true about what I am. It says something true about what I'm not. I do not believe in God, or I do not have horns, or I do not have wings. This is true, but it's not true about me. It's true about what I'm not. Conversely, if I were to ask you, do you believe that there's no God? Now, there's a question and a proposition. I'm going to give a proposition that in the universe there's no God. Do you believe that? Again, now you'd have to state something positive about you in order to resolve the proposition. And if we go back to basic logic, we see that all propositions must in the end be true or false. So, we either believe it or we don't believe it. So I really think that there's a contentious issue amongst atheists and amongst philosophers. Okay, I held off making this video until I watched your video in full. I actually had somewhere to go. I was in the middle of editing my video, and then I saw your video. So now I've just watched it just seconds ago, and it's a great video. It's exactly what I'm hoping for in terms of discussion. It's intelligent, away from the fundamentalist and the thing, even though it shows a little contentiousness between atheists and such and so forth. So hopefully you brought up other issues that I didn't address in my videos, so I'm going to try to address them here. So I'll just pause this and we'll try to do some of it anyway. You are left to say that you believe that there's no God, then you're not an atheist. So if I ask you the question again, if I were to ask you, do you believe there's no God, you would say no. And apparently you would. So if you would say no, then if I say you believe there's no God and you say no, I don't believe there's no God, then that's an atheist. So this leaves me with this problem. Then your concern with the word belief was that it's akin to religion, is what you said, and I want to address that as that. And you wanted to say that you also had millions of beliefs. I want to address this as well. Certainly, it's not like a religion just to have a belief. I mean, we believe that the sun will rise tomorrow, if you like. I know that the sun doesn't actually rise, the earth actually spins, but let's say, paraphrasing, you know what I mean when I say the sun rises tomorrow, and we don't have truths about that until it happens. So we believe that will happen. I mean, I believe that I'll exist in 5 minutes from now. I don't have truths for 5 minutes from now. I only have beliefs. So I can't even prove 1 + 1 = 2 1 second into the future. The future doesn't exist, and I don't have truths for that which doesn't exist. You have to prove a truth, and you can't prove things for things that don't even exist. So effectively, what we can prove is only for what is true now. The past doesn't exist, and we need a certain degree of assumption to assume that we existed 5 minutes ago. Bertrand Russell once asked, how could we prove that we just all didn't pop into existence like a minute ago? And I know, as bizarre as this first sounds as a proposition, couldn't all of our memories been programmed as of even 1 second ago, and yet where it popped into existence? How could we prove that that's not what took place? So it would be very difficult to do if we could, and I doubt we can. My opinion on that is that we couldn't prove that's not the case. We need some degree of assumption to believe that anything's taken a degree in the past. Also, assumption is by far and away the #1 set of logic that we use. It's inductive logic. When I cross the road, I assume I won't turn into a chicken. I assume I won't turn into a frog or an alien or any number of billions of things. Now, I don't have those thoughts in my mind at all times, but I do make that assumption. Now, nobody's ever turned into a chicken because he's crossed the road, but nonetheless, that's not proof and evidence that won't happen because you cross the road, that you will turn into a chicken. Of course, there's no logical reason to believe that that would happen, but that's not reason and proof enough to say that it's impossible to happen. The only impossibilities are P and not P, and there's nothing P and not P about turning into a chicken by crossing the road.